What's up, guys? My name's Isaac, and I'm the host of Tales from the Tailboard Podcast. Whether you're military, police, fire, medical, or the hospital we just transferred care to, or maybe you're just somebody who wants to learn something new, welcome to the show. Today's guest is Burl Nicholson, a firefighter here in Northeast Oklahoma, and today we're talking about two things I think go hand in hand. First is the Tulsa 5K run coming up in August 1st. What it's about, how it got started, and why it matters. Then we're going to shift gears into having a conversation about something that hardly ever gets talked about in the fire service, and that's faith, the purpose of it, and how it fits into the career where we see people on some of the worst days of their lives. Burl, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on, and I'm glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get started with talking about that Tulsa 5K race, and I got some questions lined up for you.
Awesome. Well, it was good meeting you out there in Collinsville at the street fair, the Hogs and Hot Rods. Getting a chance to get to kind of talk to you a little bit out there. So I'm a firefighter, Northeast Oklahoma. I've been with Tulsa for a little over 7 years now. I'm a lieutenant there in Tulsa at the Rescue Task Force Station 4. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I got out as a staff sergeant. My wife was pregnant. Had decided to. It was a hard decision on getting out because I was in a pretty good state of where I was in the military, and had a pretty good MOS, crash fire rescue, and just it was set up really well. Like I was in California, we were living it up. It was a beautiful place to be. Met my wife out there at a church in Vista, California, and so when she got pregnant, I had.
California?
Oh man, it was pretty. I'd ride my motorcycle all the time. We'd go adventure, explore. It was just super pretty place to be. And this was before it really started catching on fire, all the wildfires. So my wife, she was pregnant with our son James, and so I decided on getting out and talking to my dad. He was a big influence on me on looking at getting on to Tulsa, and so. When I got out, from the time I got out,
was he a Tulsa firefighter?
He was never a firefighter. He's always been a handyman. He's always been able to fix anything. He's always been kind of like the guy that can pretty much do it all, fix a vehicle, anything. He's always done that. And so, knowing what I
not
did,
to keep cutting you off on your story, by the way, I just have
you're fine.
side questions.
Yeah, I'm the first generation firefighter that I know of in my family. So pretty cool to know or to think of that. So I took my dad's advice. I said, all right, I'm gonna look into it. And so I called the city and I asked to talk to somebody that may have been in the military, like a Marine, because I had no connections, nobody that I knew of on the fire department. And so they get back to me finally, and they get me with a guy who I had never met before, never heard of. Talked to him on the phone for about, I'd say 30 minutes. The guy talked my ear off, and he was awesome. His name is Marcus Austin, and he's kind of a well-known guy on the job, kind of funnier guy. And so when I go in the interview process and I mention his name, I got a letter of a recommendation from him. I kind of look across the room of people, and they're all kind of got like a little bit of a smile on their face, And I'm like, man, there must be something about this guy I don't know about, And as time went on, after I got through the academy and got on, I started hearing more stories about him. And I was like, oh, that's why, So it worked out. It was awesome. But from the time I got out, from the time I got on at Tulsa, was about 6 months. And I was just doing a little work with my dad here and there. But I couldn't have been more blessed with the timing. And so my son was born right before the academy. Started the academy end of January of 2018, and we were able to close on a house during the academy. My wife and I were able to move to Owasso. I grew up in Tulsa, and we were able to start fresh here. And so,
if I remember right, your wife was not from Tulsa?
She's not from here. She's from California, and her family is all in Phoenix, Arizona. And so it was
when you got out of the military, you were in California and then kind of brought her back here.
Yep. Yeah. And big culture change for her, it was just different not having family here. And she finally now has a sister that lives here with us, but No family, just my family here, and just meeting people in the fire department. And so I get signed out west, was there for a little bit, and then I've spent majority of my career at Station 4 downtown, and
Hmm.
part of the USAR team, Oklahoma Task Force, and on the helicopter team, and kind of do a little bit of anything I can get my hands into something. I fly drones, do rescue things. It's kind of broadens your ability to help people by just picking
Oh
random
yeah.
things that you can do. And so it's been fun. It's probably one of the best departments that you could work for. The brotherhood, the camaraderie, the type of culture it is. It's a very aggressive culture with firefighting and training.
Hmm.
And the guys there that we hire are really good. We've got really good leadership.
I'm hoping to be there one day. I mean, that's my goal. Whether I start off at a, Jinx or even Skytook full time or maybe even Limestone, my
Yeah,
goal is to be at Tulsa Fire.
I think that's everybody's goal is that they want it. They see it, and it's the city. I did a ride along at Station 4 before I got on,
Hmm.
and funny story is the chief that was there at the time. I never knew who he was, Chuck French, and he actually come to find out he was my stepmom's cousin, and I didn't find that out until later after the academy. It was really weird.
Yeah,
But that
it's funny
station
who
doing
you
the
know afterwards, right?
yeah, like I had no connections at all. And there's a lot of guys on the job that have family members that are on that are related to somebody. They know somebody, legacy people. But I was first generation and doing a ride along downtown, like it just had what you would imagine like a movie, just like all the trucks, boats, big rescue truck. They had, all the poles, the fire station kitchen, like everything, the gym, like the whole
Yeah.
what you imagine, kind of what like this is a fire station. It's pretty cool, and it's one of the busier stations in the city, um, with just work and training and all the things we got going on there. So I wanted to go there, and that's where I'm at now.
I did want to touch on something like what what did your dad say? Like your dad was never part of the fire service. I mean, as what you said. I mean, you're the first generation firefighter. Like, what did he say that just made you want to go? Okay.
So he told me you need to look into Tulsa. I think they're hiring. He may have saw like a hiring ad or something, and
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa Fire, they'll occasionally put out some stuff. They'd have some billboards or something light and online. The recruiting's ran through the online City of Tulsa type thing, and there's a Facebook page and there's
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And now more than ever, a lot of stuff's getting out just through word of mouth by actual just
Mm-hmm.
firefighters. And so
This last one that I went through when I applied for it, I was amazed by how organized it was.
yeah, it's gotten even
It
better.
did not
Yeah.
seem chaotic at all.
Yeah, and like at the time, I made phone calls. I did some research. I looked up some stuff online. I found some, videos, and it's a really funny story is this too. Whenever I was joining the Marine Corps, um, I'd go down to MEPS in Oklahoma City, and for whatever reason, my
Mm-hmm.
blood pressure was high that morning. I'm like, 17 years old or, but it was high. And so they're like,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to come back. You're gonna need a waiver. So my recruiter, he goes, hey, just go to your local fire station, bring this piece of paper to him, tell them what you're doing, have them check your blood pressure and sign this form, and then bring it back. It's like, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
the station that is closest to my house in East Tulsa was Station 27. And so out
Mm-hmm.
in East Tulsa, I go over there. I really wish I could find the person, like look in the logbook or something. I haven't found it, um, of the person who did it that day on duty. But I go in there, I tell them what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah. He signs the form, checks my blood pressure, and I leave. So full circle, coming back, literally like that right there was kind of like a sign to me, I should come back. And my MOS in the military too was aircraft rescue firefighting, expeditionary fire
Yeah.
rescue. And so I spent some time around, we weren't interior firefighters, we weren't structural. We did some training on that kind of stuff, but we were more kind of like a Swiss Army knife of the Marine Corps, do odd job stuff. And so
Yeah.
working with fuel farps and whatnot on deployments and doing that kind of stuff. So I said, I was on the treadmill one day at the gym in Camp Pendleton. I was talking to a Camp Pendleton base fire guy. They're civilians. And so I was like, yeah, I'm looking to go to Tulsa. I thought about maybe trying to get on to like, if they've got some kind of airport firefighting or something, maybe I could use when I go there. And he's like, oh, you don't want to do that. That's for all the old men. That's for all the old people. And sure enough, you come to find out that's what used to be, I was just young. I didn't know at the time. I was like, whatever. In the Marine Corps, our mindset is like, everything is hard, whatever. So I talked to this guy and he's like, yeah, you don't want to do that. And I started looking into structural more. I was like, the structural is way cooler. And so I get to Tulsa, and sure enough, the airport at the time and historically has always been it was kind of the retirement home, for a lot of firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, city of Tulsa lost the airport, it went to a contracted civilian company. So we no longer run the airport, which will still respond, on alert 1, alert 2 and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Doesn't
the National Guard run it or something like that now?
They have some trucks out there, but they have Tulsa International has like a completely separate little group of people that run their ARF. Yeah, so
sense.
it's ran a little differently, and I guess it helps the city save some money on our end, I guess. But talking to my dad, he was like, and I like talk to my dad a lot about stuff, what to do, what he thinks about things, and pick his brain on some stuff. And he was like, yeah, look into Tulsa. So I just did it. I didn't really question it a whole lot. I just started looking into it, renewed my EMT before I got out, set myself up for it, and just went with faith. Really, I was stressed, but I really just went with full on faith that I'm going to get hired by Tulsa. And so it worked out.
How old were you then?
I was 23. Yeah.
23.
Actually, no, sorry.
What?
I did 8 years. I was 26. Sorry. I was 26 whenever I got out. Yeah, because I did 8 years. I was 26. And time's gone by so fast, you lose track of time. But I'm 34 now. So, but yeah, that was probably one of the best decisions I could have made for my family. Now I have 4 children. And it's something, too, that we've talked about is trying to find ways for guys that are in the military, to find ways to get them to Tulsa with kind of a streamlined process to where they know the dates, they can get them out here. And I'll occasionally post online, like there's like some groups online from some of our MOSs. We'll post on there, hey, fire department's hiring. It's one of the best jobs in the world. It relates the most to the military. I really do think it does. Like it's, for one, you got like a platoon element, guys, eat together, sleep in the same building together, you work out together, you joke together. It's just set up the way like kind of how the military was. Same with like our USAR deployments, it's that you get that feeling of like you got your cot, you go out of state, go somewhere, and it's just fun.
I've always heard it being I guess, compared to a paramilitary organization.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it says in our for our department, they consider it a paramilitary organization. And it has aspects of that. Not everything is exactly like military wise, but it does have forms of that kind of setup.
All right. Let's get into the 5K run.
Yeah.
Ready for that?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's start with the basics. For people who have never heard of it, what is the Tulsa 5K and what makes the difference for every other race out there?
So the Tulsa Firehouse 5K, this is our 3rd year for it. What makes it different than any other race is the fact that it's all firefighter themed. Like you're running through a fire station, you're getting sprayed with fire trucks from the master streams. It's just, you run through the fire station. It's just so cool. Like we got the bagpipes at the beginning, and every time I even think about it, it gives me the chills. Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
The opening ceremony, national anthem, bagpipes playing, and then like the race starts with the sound of the sirens. So the air horn and sirens going off, all the runners taking off. It's just super, super cool looking whenever you see it all. Just like last year, I was standing on top of the fire truck when the race started and I was filming and
Mm-hmm.
just listening to all the runners run by, taking off, and just hearing the sirens and the bagpipes playing in the background. It's just super cool. And so
Yeah.
we started it mainly to raise money for the Benevolent Fund. And what
Mm-hmm.
inspired it all was we had a firefighter who passed away a few years ago, and Harrison Mosby, and
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with them.
he battled with sarcoma, and probably one of the most um, faithful, optimistic firefighters going through what he went through. Just a
Mm-hmm.
huge humbling of type of a person. Just listening to him and seeing what he was going through, it really humbles you. And I would
Oh
definitely
yeah.
encourage anybody, just look him up on Facebook. Just look him up and read his posts. Like it is just pretty amazing the stuff that he would say, and then like who would reach to around the world. Um, he's a family full of firefighters too. His father's a firefighter, he's retired. He has a brother that's on the
Mm-hmm.
fire department as well. He's at the same station as me right now. Um,
It was
but just a
crazy to think that. Speaking on Harrison, the us being both from Tulsa and me being in Skiatook, um, you couldn't throw a stone at another firefighter who didn't know Harrison.
yeah, yeah.
And that's saying something, because a big portion of why people have a big problem with joining, say, Tulsa Fire or any city organization, even Oklahoma City, is because I've heard this time and time again. It's too big. It doesn't feel like a brotherhood.
Mm.
Da da da. Name your excuse. But then everybody knew Harrison Mosby.
And if you didn't actually work with him, like if you weren't at the same station with him, like you were still connected through him, through other people, and you'd hear a lot about him and just being around him. Funny, funny story was too, is like my dad, he grew up across the street from his family for a little bit over in East Tulsa. And I go over to promos. His father, he runs promos, and I go to pick up a shirt, and he goes, Burl Nicholson. He's like, you got an uncle named Jason and a dad named Burl? I was like, yeah, Jason's my uncle and Burl's my dad. And he's like, oh man, that's funny. I got this huge scar on the top of my head right here from when I was a kid playing in the backyard. He throws up this board and hits me in the head. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So the connections, like,
Oh
if you were to
man.
take a timeline of people in history and, all the little funny connections that we're all connected by something, and then to hear that and be like, oh, that's funny. And then, he knew of some stories from my dad growing up when they were kids and stuff. And and then you see what Harrison's going through. And at the time I was training for an Ironman, and I had done some marathons before, but I was training for an Ironman a lot while he was going through all that. And so every time I'd see a post, it would really motivate me because I'm like, what's my excuse? What's my excuse? Like, I've got this healthy body. I'm going to push it. I've got no excuse. And so he really
Mm-hmm.
motivated me. And then so we go to have this Harrison 505-mile run thing that Chief Kramer puts on. And it was a charity run. And it was basically companies could show up, firefighters would show up, and you would run a mile or however many miles you would want to run to equal the distance from Tulsa to MD Anderson in Texas. And so
Mm-hmm.
Chief Kramer's like, you gonna run? I was like, yeah. He's like, how far are you gonna run? I was like, I'll just run 50 miles. I'll run. I'm gonna run all day. I'm just gonna run, and I'm gonna
That's
try to get
awesome.
as much money as I can sponsored towards the run. However many bucks a mile, kind of thing. And I was in shape for it at the time. Like I was ready for it, and so
Yeah.
I do that.
Did you do
And
it?
yeah, I ran 50 miles that day. It took about, I want to say, it took like 10 hours. It was forever. Um, and I just did it, running around the training center, and you know, the whole time just thinking and meditating and praying in my head. Like that's probably the best thing about running. Some people think it's like, what's the point of running? You know, what's the point of running? Like, why? Like, what are you running from? Well, if anything, running just builds you up.
The same thing.
It builds you up your cardio. It builds up your mental focus. It's a mental thing, and it gives you time just to clear your mind and think.
Honest, running sucks.
It does, and it's like I used to hate running. I was never a good runner as a kid. Did not like to think about going for a run, and then when I got into my later 20s, I was like, I'm gonna start running. I started getting into it, but it's a great way to like just to clear your mind and meditate on life. And it gets you in a good state. And so do that. And after that was all over with, we started talking. I was talking to another buddy of mine, Coleman Parsons, and another firefighter about, we need to like start like a 5K, because you see all these races out there. They're all putting on these races for whatever cause, race for the this or that. And I was like, out of all the races that we could do and ways to make money and some charity causes in a fun way, that it's like taking out multiple birds with one stone is, it's a recruiting opportunity. It's a fundraiser. It shows off the department. It does so much. Like there's kids that are a part of it. There's guys that are a part of it that are volunteering just to get on the job through the 5K for the packet pickup stuff and just setting up stuff. Like pretty cool. And so first year we had a really good turnout. Second year, really good turnout. Third year we canceled the day because of a thunderstorm, but it didn't stop us. We're still going August 1st. But we just said, like, however much money we raise, cool. At the end of the day, it's not even really about it is about raising some money to go towards the benevolent, to help out firefighters in need, like Harrison and his family and others that are struggling with things. But really, it's just to have a great time with other people and see people you haven't seen in a long time, or just see kids out there having a great time. Like it builds those core memories for people. It's just awesome. But yeah, so
have you been a part of 5Ks before?
I've done them. When I was training harder, I would do them just to get, build up my speed. And then in the military, part of like the PFT was that you had to run a 3 mile, for time for your fitness test. And so never been like super fast 5K runner, but the thing that's good about the 5K is that it's everybody can do one. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be super slow. You can walk. It's awesome for anybody. So we chose it to be like, there's going to be some people out there that are fast. They're going to be all about it. And there's going to be people out there like, oh yeah, I'll walk a couple miles. And so it's turned out to be really good.
I'll tell you right now, I've already decided I'm going to do it, and I'll donate and come do it for a little bit, and not for a little bit, for the whole thing. But I was like, and I told you this, I will do it, but I will probably finish last. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Jog a good mile, and then I'll probably walk for half a mile, and then.
And we encourage people, like, if they show up in bunker gear, it's hot, but do it. More firefighters in it. Like, we've got the water for it. We've got the aid stations, and we got everything to, to be cooled off. But first year I did it, I did it with another firefighter. We did it on air, on full gear, and that was horrible. Like, we made it all the way through on air. We had to swap bottles and stuff at one of the stations, but kind of made it a challenge. He was a rookie at the time too, so it's we're encouraging firefighters from other stations, other departments, show up, bring your gear, and it's going to be kind of like a competition. Do what?
So talk about breath work, though. I mean, we learn to control our breathing and things like that, so we're not sucking down a 30-minute bottle in 15 minutes. But Jesus,
yeah, I was focusing on not even running. I was focused on breathing the whole time. I was sweating like crazy. But we've got a rook right now.
I would do that, but I'll do your mile. I couldn't do the 3 miles, but I would commit to a mile.
My son, he's 8 now, but the first year he wore like a little kid's bunker gear outfit, had a little air pack on his back that I made with a 2-liter, dressed him up for it. Pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely
awesome.
It's definitely a good challenge to do. Like it's a good course. It's a pretty area downtown. It's like couldn't be in a better place. There's a couple other stations. We found out that there's another department that does a 5K where they run through their station too, you know. Um, but like with ours, it's just
Mhm.
downtown Tulsa. You can't beat the view. It's just a good view.
So, not that it really matters, but do participants get any like shirts or medals or anything like that?
Yep. So we'll have a shirt for people that sign up. There'll be a shirt. There'll be a medal. There'll be a cup, and we've got some stickers too to give away. And then at the end of the race, we're gonna have
That's
Hasty
awesome.
Bake out there. Um, Hasty Bake will be out there with their trailer, and they're cooking up all their stuff. We're providing the food. There'll be some watermelon, water,
That's
and
awesome.
it just goes with the theme so good too. Seeing that trailer with the charcoals and some smoke coming out, it's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'll be there. I don't like running, but I'm doing this for Harrison. I'm doing this for Tulsa Fire. Like I could give a honestly, I'm gonna speak candid here. I'm not gonna do this because I want to be seen as the guy who's trying to get on the Tulsa Fire. I want to do this because I want to do it, and I think it's the right thing to do. If later on it benefits me, and someone goes, "Hey, you networked and people know you, and we want you to be on the station. It's gonna help you out." Great, but that is not
Yeah,
my main goal. My main
yeah,
goal is to go do something worthwhile. I'm tired of sitting on my butt going, I wish I was a firefighter. I wish I could just go out and run. And, I wanted to discipline myself. And, I can work out and I can do 75 hard, but for some weird reason, I can't get my head wrapped around to go run.
yeah.
And
And
I hate running. But,
it's the thing we did for a long time. We kind of broke the cycle. It's you build a habit, you start doing something. The more you do it, the easier it is to do, and then you stop doing it, and the habit slowly fades away. Well, we were running, in the
mm,
mornings as a crew. We would show up, run the tower. We'd go for like a 3 mile run,
mm,
make it back to the station, and be our cardio for the day. And we did it so much that became like a ritual, it became like our thing that we would do, and it was really good time because you find a partner, you find some buddies that like to you get out and just do it. You push each other, and it makes you kind of
mm-hmm.
makes it pretty tight as a group. But the benevolent fund, like, it's not. I really don't say it would be just for ourselves too, because it goes beyond. Like, if say there's a firefighter that needs help, well, they help out that firefighter. That firefighter
Mm-hmm.
is able to go on and help the next person. Um, and if there was somebody in the state,
Mm-hmm.
another firefighter in the state that needed some help, something tragic happened to them and their family, and they needed assistance, anybody reached out to the Tulsa Fire Department, the Benevolent Fund, they'd be willing to help out them too, because it is
Mm-hmm.
a big cross the state thing. Like,
That's
we're
a
all
good thing.
connected. We're all connected, brotherhood wise,
Well, I
and
mean, it's not the Oklahoma Benevolent Fund. It's just the Benevolent Fund, which, I
yeah,
mean, stands on its own merit.
yep,
I mean, I live by a simple creed. It's more recent than anything. I'd say probably within the last 5 years, but I heard it and I couldn't get away from it, and that was give more than you take. And I thought that meant a lot, especially in being a firefighter, because we give tremendous amounts of our time, our effort, and yet still seem so far behind.
yeah, yeah, it's true. And I think a lot of people, we talk about, like, you know, contracts of, like, what's our next pay raise are going to be, or what's our next benefit we're going to have, or what's the next big thing that we're going to get out of something, instead of, like, what's the next big thing that we can be a help in? Who could we help out? Who could
Mm-hmm.
we give to? Having that, the servant's heart isn't just at the station. Like, I feel like it does go beyond that, to our families, to our community, wherever we're at, trying to help people. Um, and it kind of goes in that, what we'll talk about a little bit later, is the whole faith thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really do feel like, the benevolent fund, the union, is driven by a lot of faith in a lot of things. Like, um, it really does motivate me, is to hear, like, some of the stories of people that have gotten help from the benevolent fund, and you see them come back, and you see a difference in them. you see something
Mm-hmm.
better they were able to come back from. And it's, I really do believe too that it's kind of like, we expect governments to solve all our problems on things, the local government or whatever, this and that. But at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
like communities, churches, and people with resources and money are able to take care of problems on their own. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you know somebody personally, you know, the government city, they don't know you personally. They see you as a number, but the guys next
Mm-hmm.
to you, people you work with, or live with, like they know you and they do anything for you. Um, but yeah, it's the benevolent fund. I've been blessed to not need it. Um, and I know
Amen to
that
that.
there's a lot of people out there that have gotten help from it, and they'd be willing to talk about it even more too. And our like the benevolent fund, it puts on the the gala downtown, big charity
Mm-hmm.
auction type thing, and we've had some firefighters stand up there and give kind of like a little testimony of what the benevolent fund has done for them to help them out, and just thank everybody for the support, and take some bravery just to stand up there and say, hey, I needed help, like
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is pretty awesome.
I got two questions for you on benevolent fund. One, um, when the Tulsa 5K is over and that link for that website's down for the at least until the next year, where can someone make a donation to the benevolent fund?
So you should be able to go on to the Tulsa Firefighters Benevolent Fund.org. They have a website
Mm-hmm.
that you can click on to give donations to through there. And I believe there's a link that's on there that you can click to donate, like donate here. You can either go
Mm-hmm.
there or you can go to the Tulsa Firefighters um, Facebook page. I believe there's a Benevolent Fund, Tulsa Firefighters Benevolent Fund Facebook page you can go to as well. And it has a link on there
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where you can donate. Um, and I
And to
want to
all
say,
the listeners, I'll make it easy for you. And when you're watching this video, if you click down into the description of the video on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere like that where you can find the description, I'll put a link in there for you. So if you'd like to donate to the Benevolent Fund, click that link, make a secure donation, and help out Tulsa Firefighters Benevolent Fund.
heck yeah.
And the second question is, um, I want you to speak to the prideful firefighter, the one who is quietly dying to himself and is scared to ask for help because he's at risk of losing everything.
Yeah. I feel like pride is a major fault in this human nature. We don't want to ask for help. Um, and there's even the pride of not even want to ask maybe you got a private or somebody on the truck that for help, whether it's work related
Mm-hmm.
or anything. Um, our ego can kind of get in the way of looking for help. We always want to be seen as like the got it together type person all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a guy the other day actually about this kind of scenario. It's kind of like, stores, businesses, they got their front and everything in the front looks just perfect. Everything in there is squared away, all lined up on the racks. It's ready for selling. But if you were to go in the back of the warehouse, it's an absolute mess. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
scattered about. It's kind of chaotic, and it's just a state of just disrepair. And so we're kind of like that. We put on a show a lot of times. Just we don't want to be seen as I'm struggling, or you don't want to be seen as like I don't know, I don't have an answer to something. You want to be seen as like, oh, I got everything together. And
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly to be able to say like I need help um, is a huge trait that it takes a lot of courage. It does. Um, and it takes a lot of being able to be just like to humble yourselves. But I think at the end of the day, you do that,
Mm-hmm.
say you need help, like people see that, and especially if it's somebody they didn't expect it to be coming from, whether they do expect it or don't expect it, I think people should or will, take that and be like they respect that, like man, I'm glad that guy he
Mm-hmm.
he actually said he needed something, like instead of it spiraling out of control, and then his whole life is a mess. He's making decisions on doing things he shouldn't be doing or whatever.
Mhm.
But it takes a
People
huge
make
amount of courage.
mistakes.
People make mistakes every day, and we're all hypocrites. We all you know act a certain way, and behind the scenes there's things going on or things we think or say or that aren't.
Mhm.
But I think
Well, it's
like
like you mentioned a previous episode. Sorry to cut you off.
oh,
It's going to sound like I'm cutting you off a lot, and I apologize. It's very laggy, so I hope I'm not cutting you off too much.
no, you're good.
Cool. You had noticed mentioned a previous episode by the guy name of Chappie, and I'd asked him this question. Um, well, when you're donating or giving money to somebody, how do you know they're not going to use it if they put themselves in a bad situation? Like, let's say they started drinking and now they have an alcoholic problem or alcoholism problem, or they started drugs and now they have a drug problem, or they have a gambling problem, whatever the case may be. And he goes, "That's not your business. Your business is that you gave them 20, 40, $100 to get them out of a jam, and it's no longer your issue. You don't need to."
Hmm.
Uh, Baby them to make sure they're doing the right decision. Now, if it's somebody who has like a chronic issue, like no matter how many times somebody has helped them, they always find themselves in the same position, then maybe you could do specific things like, hey, what do you need? Food. Cool. Take $300 out, go buy them food, and put food in their house.
Yep.
You know, but somebody asking one time they need help, like I can't feed my kids or I can't feed myself, you know, um, $100, $200 is nothing to somebody who has it, but
Hmm.
everything to somebody who doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have faith that
So,
at the end of the day that
and
they
then,
use their help that they're given. I think too, like,
mhm,
you have a close connection to somebody, you know them well, and you're laying your heart out to them, like, hey, I'm gonna help you out here. Here's this, but hey, I want you to think of this, this, and this. Instead of just giving it to them, I think you give it to them
mhm,
with a lesson behind it as well. But like expecting
mhm,
nothing in return, you know. That's I really do believe is the way it should be. And I haven't had, most of the people that I'm around are all really well, very squared away people. Um, they've got a lot of their stuff going, at least from what I know, everybody has things that they may
mhm,
hide, they struggle with. And I think a big part of it is just knowing your guys, like knowing the people you work with, kind of reading the room. There's a whole art in that, is just being able to
mhm,
read a room and see what's kind of going on with people. My one of my captains, he's real good at that. If something seems kind of off with even me, even though there may nothing be wrong, he'd be like, "Hey, what's going on? You've been kind of quiet," and I might not even notice it, but I'm like, "Eh," but because he cares, he's just checking on me and seeing if something's up, giving guys a call, seeing how they're doing.
mhm,
um, that stuff goes a long way. I feel like on days off.
mhm. Um, there's another thing that was like brought up. I'm not sure if it was with Chappie, but it was definitely brought up, and I can remember this almost word for word. I just can't remember from who. But they had said um, people deal with so much so often that sometimes they're backed into a corner and they have no other option, and sometimes they feel like SI is the only option. Um, I'm being frank on that because shadow banning on certain words.
Hmm.
Um, but they had said I would rather listen to you talk for 3 hours than listen to a 15-minute eulogy.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it's like, there's been times in my life where I've had my ups and downs, and that's, you know, my biggest ability to battle any of those kind of things is through my faith. And so I've always been faith oriented. And I know not everybody has that. Not everybody thinks that certain way. But with
I mean,
with
do they need to be?
I would say it's a touchy subject, but for me, I would say yes. It's the only way that
Yeah.
makes the world make any kind of sense to things for me, and many others I know. But there's been some times in my
Hmm.
life, where I've
And that's
been,
not a bad answer. That's a truthful answer.
yeah, and it's like, there's been times in my life where I've been super down or depressed or whatever, and it's not the answer to the problem, It's never going to make anything better.
Hmm.
Um, everything that it affects around you. And it's so hard because mental health is a huge thing. I've always viewed mental health as, yeah, it is a disease. There's chemical imbalances in your mind
Hmm.
and your brain, but I also feel like it is a realm that is very demonic, dark. Um, you're in an area that, you're listening to a voice that is saying things that aren't entirely true. And so
Hmm.
you let that voice overtake you and you just answer that voice, that's ultimately what we don't want. But we've, the people that I've seen that have struggled with this thought, um, I've seen true change in their lives through Jesus Christ, through faith. Um,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't be able to credit anything else other than that to that. And people that have gone through some things that are extremely tragic that I know for a fact would bring you into a spiral of depression. I know for a fact the only way that they were able to get through those things was through faith, um, through growing up in a home that was full of faith, or in their just current lives. You can see it in them, like they have Jesus in their life, and I credit
Hmm.
that. I credit Jesus for their strength that they have to get through those things. Um, but to listen to a to listen to a 15-minute eulogy of just
Hmm.
I would 100%. I would sit all day long with somebody if I had to, if they were going through something like that.
Knowing you could have done something about it.
Yeah. And I would want somebody to do the same thing for me. Um, but like knowing your guys, knowing when they've gone through something tough, those debriefing kind of things. Firefighters we've always been that kind of people too that go through things through humor. And I do believe God's gifted us with humor. I don't see anything wrong with that. The ability to have some dark
Hmm.
sense of humor to get through things. Um, it breaks down the wall, it kind of breaks that barrier down, and it helps you kind of cope. But then you have that sense of that side to you that also like knows how to turn it on and off, where you can be serious
Hmm.
and you take the subject and you're like, well, why are the things the way they are in this world? Why is there so much misery and suffering and death? And you're
Hmm.
like, well, we're in a fallen world. It's a fallen world in need of a living savior. And so
Hmm.
it just helps you picture things a lot better. But we've got, like, for us, we've got guys on the job that you can call up, talk to. We have an established team of people that you can call. And then we have our, family support services type element too that you're able to reach out to. And then now our
Hmm.
department has a chaplain. And so our chaplain, he finally got into the position where he's able to kind of do that a lot more, because previously there wasn't really kind of that big element. And I believe every station, everywhere in any fire station it's a mission field in itself. You know,
Hmm.
you got a bunch
Do
of
you think
broken people.
we do you think we went through a season where we kind of lost our way towards chaplains and just lost our way of going to church? Like the pendulum swung so far the other direction that maybe it just was seen as not cool or not
Not as much needed or
worth.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wondered this as well, and I've always had this thought. The military still has chaplains. It's kind of like there's military chaplains, and they're the ones that lead services overseas and on deployments. They have them on ships. And it's kind of a tradition thing. It's like a strong tradition of chaplains, the chaplain corps.
Hmm.
And it's always cool to see. They've got their pins on their collar. One's their rank, and the other one's like a cross or whatever, like for the Navy. And
Hmm.
for us, I feel like, we can call up a chaplain if a family needs one. If they're going through something, we can call up a chaplain. Um,
Hmm.
and we can call them afterwards to come to the station and talk during our, debriefings if they would like one. But I do feel like we are entering into, it seems like to take place like after COVID. I'm not
Hmm.
100% on this, but you see it more and more on social media, TikTok, Instagram, more and more people speaking up and bringing up their spirituality. There's like kind of like a mini great
Uh,
awakening.
100% agree. It's
There's,
like, yeah, I would say probably after COVID for sure. But I have noticed, like, I wasn't aware of chaplains in general for quite a while. And then in the recent years, it's just, okay, Chappie, and now you, and now multiple other people. I'm like, oh, since when did this become a huge ordeal?
yeah. And like you've got in departments, it's kind of it's not a taboo, but it's always been kind of the thing where we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about this or that. Well, we're not talking about religion. Like we're talking about like faith. We're talking about Jesus.
Hmm.
And it's a lot
Can I
different than
be?
just,
I'd like to just say one thing on that, and you can take the floor with this because I believe it has everything to do with it. I've always heard that as well. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about God. Don't talk about money at work. But I here recently fell into this like strong inkling of by not talking about faith, I'm denying my faith.
that's right.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to deny my faith.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and as a follower, Jesus says those who will talk about me, he would talk about. Those who deny me, he would deny. So it's kind of like it goes, it's a part of your life. It's embedded into us. It's a part that it's hard not to. Um,
Hmm.
and with the chaplain side of things, like I don't believe you have to be a chaplain to even be a person that's available to talk to about anything that they're going through, and we all have our different levels of walks with
Hmm.
our beliefs. But like I really do believe there's kind of like this little mini great awakening taking place where I've seen it with Fit to Fight Fire. I don't know if you follow them, their Facebook
Yeah,
page.
John Sparrow.
He used to run it pretty just firefighter oriented. Like there was no faith involved really. It was kind of just firefighting.
Hmm.
And then the last year or two, he started blowing up with his the greatest teacher ever is Jesus, the greatest leader ever is Jesus. Like he started being
Hmm.
unashamed of the gospel, unashamed of his faith, unashamed, and just started just pouring it out. And I'm like, that's what we need. You can believe it or not, you can accept it or
Hmm.
not. It's not controlling you, but that's what I'm going to follow, and that's what I'm going to believe. Um,
100%. I think we were led to believe that it was a taboo thing to do. And the more you began to talk about it, the more you said, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to talk about Jesus. I'm going to talk about my faith. You realize that others were okay with it as well. And you realize that it wasn't the only person. You weren't the only person who was believing in God. It wasn't wrong to believe in God,
mhm. And historically too, like
which made you go ahead.
the the whole like theme of Christianity has always been kind of like mixed in with firefighting. Um, our
Hmm.
USAR, one of our USAR trailers, it has on there for our 8 SART team, Fishers of Men. Um, and just the whole concept of being a servant, it's all embedded in with it. It may not be literally called, Christianity, but I do believe it's a calling. Being a firefighter, it is a huge calling. It's whenever somebody gets in trouble, like they hold us to such a high standard, they basically hold us to the
Hmm.
same standards as if a pastor was to be caught doing something out in town and it's all blasted on the news. They hold us to that same kind of standard.
Hmm.
Um, but like,
It's all nonchalant until you do something wrong, and then it's like, oh wait, you're a firefighter. You should
yeah,
know better.
yeah, it's like the same as if I did something wrong and I call myself a Christian, then you're like, oh, that guy's a super hypocrite. You
Hmm.
know, So it really does go hand in hand. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
it's for me, I went for years without going to church, especially when I first got on. And I'm kind of a rough around the edges type guy. I'm not perfect by any means. Everybody, you could ask people at the station, they tell you the
Neither am
same thing.
I.
I've made some dumb decisions. I've said some dumb things, and I've you can analyze yourself. That's a trait in its own. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
when my son turned about 4, it was after a pretty tragic accident in Tulsa involving a fire truck and
Mm-hmm.
a car full of some people. And so we were on scene.
I'm familiar
We
with it.
were on scene a little bit after, like most people got put in the ambulance and taken away. We worked on getting driver out of the car. She was still in, but just knowing how tragic that incident was and what all those people are going through for the rest of their lives, and including the firefighters, I go home, I have to hug my babies. I have to hug my wife, hug my babies. And I
Mm-hmm.
started to think, my children, they're without any excuse. They're without any excuse. I'm without any excuse to not have them going to church regularly. And to think to myself, man, one of those babies there in that car may they may have never ever in their life saying Jesus loves me or ever even heard of the stories of about Jesus. Um, and so
Mm-hmm.
it really convicted me through that call, through hearing about it, everything that those people went through, including our firefighter. And so I started going to church, and we've been going there for the last 4 years in Collinsville. And it's just amazing how God can use something tragic, and when it's looked at a certain point of view, how He can take something tragic and turn it into something right. Um, he can convict you through tragedy, and through things that are horrible. Um, and it's when he says something,
100%.
when he says in Matthew 5, "Blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted." He doesn't say, "For they may be comforted, for they might be comforted." He says they will be comforted. Um, it's a promise, and so seeing that firsthand, it's like it's evidence that it's true to me. Like that is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my kids seeing me as a firefighter.
And notice how he didn't say how to mourn either. He
No,
didn't say for those who only ugly cry. He didn't
no,
say for those who cry quietly in the corner. He said for those who mourn.
yeah,
All.
and you look it up, and you look into mourning and what it is. Like mourning is like deep, deep sorrow, like deep, deep pain, and it doesn't have to be just. It could be for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. It could be for others. It could be for anything. And He promised to send the Comforter through the Holy Spirit, and I do believe the Holy Spirit can work through others
Mm-hmm.
and to comfort you, to comfort me. And I believe that through tragedy and through sadness, like it brings us closer. It can bring us closer to Christ. And in the garden, when
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was in the garden praying before being sacrificed and being brought up by Judas, betrayed, he was so sorrowful that like he fell on his face and prayed. And an angel came down and comforted him. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
I start to think, in times where it's where I'm sad or if something happened that was tragic or anything, and I've been very blessed to not deal with a lot of tragic things. I've seen some things that I probably should mourn over. I should probably get down and mourn over some things that I've seen and been a part of. Um, but you get cold and you kind of get hard sometimes
Mm-hmm.
where those things just pass by. Oh, it's another death. Another person died. Another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do believe when you have that soft heart, and it's hard, it's easy to get hard hearted on the fire department over people and things, homeless, whatever. But having a soft heart that can still mourn over things, like it
Mm-hmm.
shows that it really does show you have a heart of compassion towards people. Um, like Jesus, like he moved with compassion. He saw somebody in pain, like he moved with compassion towards them. So as a
Well,
Christian
it
in the
could
fire department,
be going to your counselor and talking about the things that you've seen.
yeah, yeah, and he could use them to help you out. Um, but like the idea that, you know, it's just so easy to be hard hearted. We get, you can get really cold towards certain people,
Mm-hmm.
types of places, or whatever. And as a Christian, I have to remind myself daily that, I could have been born in that person's shoes. Right? I'm just blessed and fortunate to be able to drive home across Tulsa into Owasso, driving by a bunch of empty farmland. That's, resets my mind to come home to my beautiful family, and just counting our blessings that we have every day,
Mm-hmm.
that we have.
Man, getting into some deep faith here. You want to talk more about the Tulsa 5K, and then we'll get into the deep questions of the faith-based stuff we've been talking about. Not like we haven't already been getting into it, but there may
Yeah.
be some more unified questions.
Yeah.
We talked about the benevolent fund. I think is where we left off on when it comes to the 5K. On the origin story, you kind of touched on this. How did the event get started? Whose idea was it? I think we didn't get there. Whose idea was it? And what was the mission from day one? I think the mission from day one's like the benevolent fund, but like let's talk more about who the leaders are.
Yeah. So what inspired it, is obviously all um, the 505-mile run and all of that. I have tried at the beginning to not take credit for anything from day one. That's always what I've told myself in
Mm-hmm.
the back of my mind. I don't want credit for anything. I don't even put my face on the front of things. I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, it's my thing. I try to share
Mm-hmm.
the ownership with everybody. It belongs to us. And, I've always been like the idea fairy. I'll come up with some crazy
Mm-hmm.
idea and be like, how about we do this stupid workout? Or how about we do, it'd be cool if we had like a drone that had like a rope that could pull this rope, bag across this canyon, and, just funny, weird stuff. I've always had an imagination of like a 6-year-old. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I think a lot of firefighters do. That's how we come up with some cool things. But, uh,
that's how you know a firefighter is going to be a good firefighter is if he's got a mind like a 6-year-old.
yeah, they should like hand you a pack of crayons at your interview and say, draw us a picture of this. And then they should judge you based off that. Um,
And if you
but
happen to
no,
eat one of those crayons, then we
you're
know you were a
automatically,
Marine.
yeah, and you're automatically hired. So, but, the, I had this idea and I threw it out there. And what really started it all, and I don't really care for AI that much. AI is cool, whatever, it's handy when it's
Mhm.
used right. Um, so I created a Facebook
For
page.
God's sake, check it. Check the things that you AI generate.
Yeah. So I just made up a Facebook page and I was like, man, we need like a logo for this thing. And so I used Chat GPT. It might have been Bing when it first started, and I
Yeah.
started coming up with this like design, and it looked all right at first. It was just kind of like a drawing at first, and then I was like, let's make it more realistic. And the bunker gear was like black, and I was like, no, make it tan, like our structural turnout gear. Give him a red helmet. All right, cool. I kept modifying it slowly, slowly, slowly until it turned out to be what it was, and it turned out to be this little running man. And it kind of resembles another firefighter on the fire department, where a lot of people say it looks like him, and it's kind of funny. But so we created that, and
Mm-hmm.
then I started getting more imaginative with just making some videos, and I boosted some posts on Facebook, and I got with the local, got their approval of using the benevolent fund. They were all about it, and um, so we got them on board, and it's awesome with having them because we've got the union president that's over there, Matt Lay, Tasha, she's the secretary, Jeff Harper, all the other folks that are over there that are huge help because they have their little headquarters. They are able to keep track of the incoming sponsorships. We've had some huge sponsorships from Cherokee Nation, Osage Nation, Hideaway, Pool Masters, like all these big ones that have came and been a part of it. Station 13 out in West Tulsa, the event center. And so they just, keep track of all that. And it just makes it, I just do all the logistic stuff. I've done like the street closures and all that kind of stuff, the random stuff and some social media stuff. And it just flowed really well. It just went really well. Having help with Roy Zollner and Coleman Parsons and Steve Isaacs, a lot of these guys on the job that they're big marathon runners. They like to run a lot too. And so I just kind of recruited some guys. Hey, you want to help out? Made a little team and just really push it. Got help from the Route 66 marathon people. All of those, like it just, the community in Tulsa is a big runners / biker / just sports outside type activity place. It really is. There's so many 5Ks that go on in the city. So we jumped on that bandwagon. We're like, let's just ride this as far as we can and see what we can do. And we sold it as, this is going to be the coolest 5K literally because, you're getting sprayed with water and it's going to be a good time. And it's been good. We were sad that we had to cancel the race in June, but the weather was so bad that morning that we didn't want the bagpipes to get wet, and we wanted it to be a sunny, nice day where everybody can have good pictures and be a good turnout where nobody's afraid to show up. So
I heard about it really late, so I'm glad it got canceled, in my opinion, because now I get to be a part of it.
Well, the day it got canceled was the day I ran into you out in Collinsville with the church. So that was good timing.
And the first time I heard about it was, you were out there with the church and you were like, hey, actually today was supposed to be the race. And I went, oh, well, if it's going to be in August, then I'll do it then.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all been mostly
I told you
Facebook.
I'd do it, and I'm going to do it.
Well, I'll see you there. And it'd be cool, too. You could bring out your stuff and interview whoever else you want out there.
Be kind of cool. Most people just show up and run. They don't realize what goes into putting on an event like this. You sort of got into it, but I want to know, what does the planning process really look like?
So we start out with our city permitting. That's a big part. Put in the date when we want to do it. They've got the city special events permit office.
The permits.
Yeah, it's just the permits. And a big cost of the race is like the street closures. And, we could make a boring race where it's just strictly on Riverside on the trails, but it'd be boring. You're not running through a fire station, you're not running through the downtown streets and all that. So it's worth the investment in having the streets closed with TPD. But doing that, getting our race certified.
What's the total buy-in?
For the street closures? Last year,
what's the... Sorry, it may have cut out. If you said something, I didn't hear you.
The total cost of what it takes pretty much to put it on? About a little over 5,000, I want to say. And so majority of our nonprofit money, like towards the benevolent, goes from the sponsors and from people signing up. So that's why we're always looking for big sponsors. But for a day like it is, and for what it is, it's a really good investment. With the city, they cut us a little slack on some of it. They make it pretty streamlined and easy. The last 2 years have been way easier, and so many things are donated. Like a big cost savings has been like the porta johns and the barriers. From Action On Call Safety, they donate some of their equipment for us, and the Route 66 people, they donate some signs and water coolers and all that, and then we rely a lot on our sponsor or our volunteers. All the volunteers that show up, they're a huge help. But most races, most 5Ks, they unless they're on a boring trail, like where it's just on a trail where there's no streets involved, um, it costs a little bit to
Mm-hmm.
put it on.
Well, that's good. I mean, so at least we're getting like a price on that. Has there ever been a sponsor that's like, "Hey, we'll take care of the whole thing"? And if there was not, if there ever was, so we can maybe entice some future sponsors here. If somebody's like, "Hey, I'll put down the full 5K it takes to run this," what
So,
could
but
a sponsorship like that take?
we have our different levels of sponsorships, and this is what's cool too about it is that a normal 5K race or anything, if they're going to look for sponsors or a big event, they're going to come up with certain titles like uh, head sponsor, medium tier level sponsor. Well, we based our sponsors off of rank, so we got
Mm-hmm.
chief sponsor, then we got like our captain sponsor, and then we got lieutenant sponsors, and then we got firefighter sponsor. And the chief sponsors
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of years has been Cherokee Nation and Osage Nation. And between those two, that's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
covered the cost of the big stuff. And then everything after that has gone towards just the
That's
shirts
good.
and medals and everything else. Um, so they've been very good, very helpful in sponsoring the race. And then this last year, we keep getting in all these little tinier. They all add up. It's awesome. Um, Sponsors, people decide to be a part of it. And then we ask people if they want, to show up, they can set up a little table out there. Like we have a kind of a. It's another thing that makes our 5K cool is that at the very end there's a little vendor area. So there's tables, different. You got Red Cross, you got um, there'll be an IV table, Hydrate U IV will be there, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's um, we'll have them, and then we'll have like Hasty Bake will be there with their trailer. Just a bunch of different groups of people that are out
Yep.
there. We had Monster Energy was out there last year. Tulsa Power Sports was out there with all of their like little um, dirt bikes, their side by sides, some stuff out there just to show off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we had the veteran group that was out there as well from Owasso set up, and so that was really good. And this year too, they were going to bring their Humvee. Um, And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning they're going to bring their Humvee out again this year for the race.
So let's talk about the delegation. Now, something of this caliber, I mean maybe you do, but I believe maybe you don't take care of every little single feature that's going on with the race. I'm sure there's help behind the scenes. Maybe you're delegating somebody deals with the medals, somebody deals with the shirts, somebody deals with the sponsors, somebody's dealing with maybe they're taking phone calls for, hey, trying to get that Humvee in or um taking questions from sponsors like, hey, can we bring this in? And somebody saying yes or no. Like, I mean, what's the delegation process look like?
So a lot of it we get delegated to where we'll get emails in all the time, and we'll just forward emails over to Tasha, and we'll have meetings. We'll have meetings like every month, every other 2 weeks or so, and at the meeting we'll just sit there and talk, and we'll have a little Google, spreadsheet saying, hey, we need this, this, and this. And we all just kind of, all right, hey, you do this, all
Mm-hmm.
right, I'll do this, and we just break from there and we just knock it out. And it just happens so like
Mm-hmm.
fluidly and very, very efficient. It's pretty nice. And the thing is too is we're not like there's some places out there like Fleet Feet and others they do this for a living. That's all they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's put on races and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of unique because we're firefighters putting on a 5K by firefighters on our own. We're not paying anybody to do it. We
Mm-hmm.
could pay like a time company to do all of that for us, to do the advertising, to
Mm-hmm.
do all of that. Well, to save money, we pay for them just to set up their timing system and for the bibs, for the timing chips and all that, and for the metal arch. But to save the money, we do all of the legwork
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So it saves money that way, and we take ownership of it. It's our baby, and it's just a lot better that way.
Good. All right. For someone listening and wants to participate, what should they expect? How do they register? What time does everything kick off? And is this geared towards competitive runners, families, firefighters, or really just anybody? I'm going to bring up a screen share here, and I'll let you drive. As far as you just let me know what you need to
Okay.
see, and we can show the people what they need to do.
So yeah, if you go to the Tulsa Firehouse 5K website, you can find it through Facebook. You can find it online, and it'll go to the It's Your Race page. And so you can go down to register. There'll be a click on link. Today, if you use the scroll up a little bit there, it should be
Okay.
uh, register now. Yep. So if you click on that,
Yeah, right here.
yep, you can type in your info, get registered and all that. And you can type in for that promo code right there. You can type in summer. That'll give you some money off on the race. If you're not able to race, you can actually register as a virtual runner, and you would just pick up your medal and shirt and cup the day before. And then we would just
Look at
ask you,
that.
you can just post online your treadmill, post a picture, tag it, and just share it online. Um, the day before the race will be packet pickup at Runner's World. The morning of, you can pick up your stuff at Runner's World as well, and you can register all the way till the morning of. So you can register in that morning as well out there at the park. And so yeah, there's two. You can find it through Facebook or you can find it through Google. It's the race is meant for everybody. You can be a fast runner. There's some fast runners out there. Um, the first year it was, I believe, Sam Carr. He won, and he's a Tulsa Ironman. He won the Tulsa Ironman a couple of years ago. We've had a bunch of other runners that are super fast running it. They're super serious. And then there's the ones that just walk it. They walk with their family, with their strollers. So it's for everyone. And it's a certified race, USA track and field certified. So it's measured out. Um, but yeah, it's a tough little race. The first leg running up Boulder, it's a little bit of a climb, but the rest of it's not bad. And you run through Fire Station 4,
And
go through the
then right
bay.
here,
Yep, and then you'll head west.
is this
You'll
11th?
Yep, yeah, goes down 11th through the Station 4, down all the way to Southwest Boulevard. Then you'll go down. You'll go down the bridge a little bit for the turnaround point, and then you'll come back to Riverside Drive, and then back up to the finish. And so, all in the street. The whole thing's in the street, and right at the finish line and right at Station 4, there's some water being sprayed. So pretty much at the halfway point, you're getting wet, cool you off a little bit. There's water there, and there's some porta johns if you have to use the restroom. There's porta johns at Station 4. But the
Race
very
day
beginning,
registration packups can be available 7:30 to 8:30.
yes, and the day before.
That's going to be in the day before, and that's going to be available at Runner's World Tulsa, located at 3920 South PRN Tulsa, July 31st, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Virtual packets will be emailed, not mailed to you. And I saw this here, your virtual race app. So can you speak on that?
The app, it's kind of helpful. You don't really need to use it, but I want to say that you can use it to just check all your stats, like after the race, like you can see your times and all that stuff on there. And then they'll have a photographer at the finish line that will take your pictures that will upload to where you can get your photos offline at the finish line. But we're gonna try to take as many pictures as we can of the event. It's always the best day because it just helps us to push it for the next year, all the new pictures. So the easy to sign up the morning of too. If you need to check in, if you still need to pick up your stuff, we'll have a table set up for you to go over and pick up your shirt and your bib number.
And this address right here, 1875 South Boulder Park Drive, is this where everybody is meeting?
Yes. So you'll see everybody gathering up there on the street right there, pretty close to the flagpole off the bank. And yeah, we'll be all staged out there. A good place to park. If you go down to the map, scroll down to that map a little bit, along Riverside Drive, right off of Denver, there's the parking lot that's right there. They've added a bunch of new parking. That's a good spot to park, but wherever you find, there's some pretty good spots to park around there.
So these little circle parts right here, is that like the parking lots here?
Yeah, yeah, and they expanded that too, where
Okay,
there's a new playground down there as well, so you should be able to park along that. And
perfect. So
then,
here, walk over to the park next to the flagpole, and you should be able to get your. If you haven't gotten your packet, you should. I guess you're picking up the rest of the packets that day. Is that what you said? Correct.
yep, yeah, if you didn't pick it up the day before, you
Okay.
could pick it up that morning. And 08, we plan on having the fun run. Um, you can still pick up your packet. People doing their things. Usually, some kids run in it. You kind of get warmed up. You can run in it. And then at 8:30 is when we plan to do the opening ceremony with the bagpipes and the honor guard.
Okay.
And we'll do the national anthem. We'll have a morning prayer. We'll have the whole get to start line. And then around 8:45 or so is when the race will take off. And then
Perfect.
see everybody at the finish line.
Cool. And if you're unable to walk or run, there is a link right here on the website, and I'm sure you can find it on the Facebook page as well. You can just consider donating here and just put your money to good use if you have some little extra you don't mind giving away. And if you can't be there, at least you're still supporting a good cause.
Yep.
Over the past year, support has directly contributed to extraordinary impact, more than $500,000 in direct assistance to widows and children of fallen firefighters. Note that does not specifically say Oklahoma firefighters, so keep that in mind. It's supporting firefighters all over the nation. 34 members receiving critical mental health and substance abuse recovery support. Full payment and outstanding balances recovery centers for firefighters. Organized memorial services and ongoing financial support to families of fallen heroes, and 50-plus medical relief grants awarded to families facing cancer and major medical challenges. For more information, you can follow TulsaFireFund.com.
That's right.
I will have all of those links available for you. The sign up link, I will have the donate link, and I'll have this link here all ready for you, and as well as a link to the Facebook page as well. So you guys can get you signed up and go from there.
Yep. And if you go to the Facebook page, please like and share it. We're almost close to 1,000 followers on there. We're trying to grow it. And a lot of the newest updates, the most recent updates, will come through Facebook as well. So
Perfect. And he said, coming right up, if you type in summer on the applied code here, so I'll just put it here, it will give you a few dollars off. So if you can't afford the full $40, there you go. Save yourself $8 on the 5K run and save yourself $4 on the fun run. Of course, there is that $3.67, $3.50 fee for the online portion of making sure those funds get to the Benevolent Fund and all of everything involved as far as that goes. Anything else you want to go over before we exit the screen share here?
no, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. All right. So let's go into section 2 of this. Obviously, physical fitness is important in the profession, but I know another thing that's important to you is faith. It's important to all of us here. That's something we don't hear or discuss enough in emergency services, and we're going to dive more into that. Now, yes, you've heard us for the past hour talk about faith and partial on the 5K run, but let's get into some more honest, grounded questions. And guys, listeners, over my TikTok, I got about 1,800, and I think I just checked today, 1,867 followers. So to all of you, all of my followers, if you have questions, go find me on YouTube, Tales from the Tailboard Podcast, and I need you to go comment under there and ask your questions. If you have any questions about faith, you have any questions about fire, if you're new and you just want to know something about the fire service, if you're new to your faith and you want to know something about faith, Burl, myself, and anybody who is, anybody in the comment section, if you are meant to be a teacher, meant to preach, help those who are in need. And also, Burl and I can answer questions. If I don't know something, I'll ask Burl. If Burl doesn't know something, he may ask me. Or if we both don't know anything, we may just ask our preachers and ask to help clarify things.
Yeah. And out of all the things to share, if there's anything that could ever blow up and be shared, would be something like this. This is huge. And I'll be full disclosure too. Like, I think we'd all be like this. I'd consider myself to be like Peter or or David or one of these people in the Bible that were not perfect by any means. Um, I'm just a rough around
I'm
the
gonna
edges, crazy guy, that but loves Jesus.
I'm not gonna try to make a joke out of it, but at the same time, it's somewhat comical. I probably find myself more like Paul in prison all the time because I don't quit running my mouth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm the guy that would definitely definitely be willing to cut off the guy's ear that tries to take away Jesus, but also at the same time be saying something stupid that I shouldn't be saying.
100%. So, during this faith journey that you've had, what role has your faith played throughout the career in the fire service? Were you
So
always faith based in your career, or did it come along?
I would say I've grown in my faith. Starting out, I would say my biggest regret as a new firefighter was not being grounded in my faith like I should, not
Hmm.
being focused on how I carry myself as a believer. Um, because like your name, it represents your family, what it says on your shirt. Um, and if you claim to be something but you don't live it, like, are you truly what you say you are? Um,
Hmm.
but my biggest regret was I wish, faith has always been a part of I've had my ups and downs, it's a roller coaster of faith. And I do contribute a lot of that to being in and out of church. I believe, we can go to the training center and spend a couple hours training, pulling hose, talking about tactics, talking about a new thermal imaging camera we have. We're doing so much, but
Hmm.
I spend an hour, 2 hours in a church service. The amount of time we can give towards, when I was studying for lieutenant, it's super convicting to me. I didn't want to start reading
Hmm.
or getting into what I was going to read in my company officer book and in my John Norman Handbook of Tactics and the policies and all that stuff until I read some scripture. And I wanted to set my tone of the day with that first because I felt as if I was putting so much more into the world than I was for God. And so the thing that was encouraging to me though when I thought about it was like one verse, literally one verse. It may only have a couple words in it. Um, you could take and expound on, and it'd be more powerful than 10 company officer books. You know what I mean? Like the amount
Hmm.
of stuff that you can pull from scripture. But for me, starting out, I was never, I made a lot of bad decisions and um, done some things that I wish I could do better, not just on the fire department, I'm talking about in just my personal life too. And even before I moved back home when I was in the military. And I really do believe whoever you surround yourself by is what you start to become like.
Hmm.
Um, you got guys in the fire department that they surround themselves with good people that are like all into the job. Like they want to be like that. That's how my station is. Like we're all into the job. Well, if I
Hmm.
want to be a strong follower and I want to be a um, better follower and a better example towards my children, like I gotta be surrounded by those type of people too. So I started going to church, and that was a big, big factor in my faith was you got to have that place where you regroup. I mean, it's like your military base. If you don't imagine a bunch of tanks roaming around in a battlefield, um, or soldiers, and they've got no place to go and regroup and get washed up and train. You know, they're just
Hmm.
going on a whim. There's no structure. There's no nothing. I really do believe you have to have some form of structure and a place where you can get refueled up to be ready for whatever comes your way. Um, and
Agreed.
you can have that anywhere you are. Like, where Bible says anywhere that there's more than one person gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. I really do believe that. Um,
Hmm.
so for me, throughout the day, like finding other guys that there's obviously going to be people they don't believe maybe or whatever. And you got those guys that you do know
Hmm.
believe that has faith and you talk you have good conversations, and you can relate to things and whatever. At the end of the day, whether you believe or not, I still believe all the attributes of Jesus. Like, there's not one attribute of the fruits of the Spirit that you could say is bad to have as a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you could go there's so much you can go all day on this topic, and it goes a long, long way of being a firefighter's firefighter and having a servant's heart and attitude and being full of joy and being optimistic and having patience and long suffering and being meek, like being like humble. Man, it goes a long way. And always being able to learn,
So we've all seen things that, oh yeah. So seeing things that stick with us, how has faith helped you process difficult calls and emotions that, the weight that comes with the job?
Well, like we were talking about earlier, the different people I've known, their stories that they've shared, like some of the calls that they've had, you could see the way that some people handle things, like I joked about earlier, we talked about earlier, of a dark humor. Um, and then there's those that kind of take it and they use it as a learning tool, or to allow them to be appreciative of where they are in life, the things that they aren't having to deal with, the things that their kids aren't having to live through, that we see on calls, helps you to be appreciative of what we have. And I've had a couple of calls where, it makes you question some things. But then at the same time, you're like, you have to flip that switch and be like, well, this is a person. Like, this, it should be a sad thing to me. Like, I should be sad about this. And I am sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you feel that sorrow, that darkness. You really do feel that darkness in places sometimes, where it's just a sense of like, there's this dark feeling. I come home, and my home, it's full of light. It has a presence that's full of light and joy. Hearing the children laugh, my wife, seeing her, it's clean, it smells good. Like, the things about it that are, to me, it's spiritually clean. And then you go some places and it's just very, very dark. And so those things to me strengthen my faith, though, because you start seeing you can't have one or the other. They're both there, light and darkness, and they both said they'd be there. But for me, like, we can't. It's not like I can go around on a call and be like just straight up talking to somebody the whole time. We're there to do a job. We're there to help somebody. And I've had a couple times in the back of my mind where I've actually prayed for somebody, where I felt some compassion in my mind. Like, I've prayed for them without having to speak, just in my mind, prayed for that person. But yeah, it's definitely a spiritual battlefield.
Man. Like, you're just sit there and talk about the SI and then the shirt, and then being laughing and then wanting to cry at the same time, and there's a whole lot of thoughts that go through my head when I'm like, what if he did it on purpose so you wouldn't be sad?
Yeah, you just never know. You just
what if
never
it was
know.
a statement?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. It's we've talked before this. I've dealt with my own versions of seeing people I loved, going through situations. But then we get into, and you're Lieutenant Nicholson, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How do you lead with your beliefs without forcing those beliefs on other people in the station? Like, keep this story that you just mentioned in the back of your head here. A non-believer is going to look at this differently than a believer. Now, how are you going to lead knowing that?
Well, I think it's tough because, as a believer, we're supposed to be very sober minded and like, serious about matters, you know. And so if we
Mm-hmm.
laugh about things, when it's hard not to, when something that's not, like it's a touchy subject or whatever it may be, like we're supposed to be still serious about it. And so having that sober minded, serious state though, but also being able to have like being able to read the room, you can tell if something doesn't sit right with somebody or something, but
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
when you,
always find out way too late. I suck at reading a room.
yeah, it's hard, but it's like, I think at the end of the day, it's like, the words that we choose to say and how we look at something and how we compose ourselves. Like, I think with leadership too, it's like you're able to um, not show like, pain, or when something's tough, not show like you're able to still keep going. And I guess I
Mm-hmm.
really I think that's a strength too, and a trait that you get from being a Christian is having that ability to persevere through things that are tough because you have a solid understanding of
Mm-hmm.
why things are the way they are. Um, but out of all the calls, like I don't want to mention certain calls and certain things because um,
Mm-hmm.
but you get like homelessness, like there's been a couple of times where you go to a guy that he's just trying to stay warm, and he's not even in a place that's really that visible. He's got like a little fire going. Somebody calls it
Mm-hmm.
in. They drive by. They don't like it, so they call it in. So we go there and we say, "Hey, sorry," put it out, and we tell them like, if you find another spot, But you have that part of you inside that's like, man, this guy's not causing anybody a problem. He's not causing any. It's cold outside. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have that part of you that still cares about people, even if they may not be doing something legally, in the area. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then those
Sometimes
kind
I
of,
wish people that call in situations like that, I wish they could switch places for 2 hours
yeah,
with that person with no resources. Like you don't have money, you don't have anybody in your friends list you can call, you don't have a phone, you don't have a Facebook, you don't have Messenger, you don't have Snapchat, no Instagram, no WhatsApp, no nothing.
yeah.
Like you're in that guy's shoes for the next 2 hours.
And they feel like they're doing something good, which I get, but you read the story of the Good Samaritan, and there's so much more to it. Like that person actually stopped. Like that person actually helped the person. Didn't just call some person to come up with their camel
Mm-hmm.
and help them out. They stopped and they were being a true Good Samaritan. I think that's what we're lacking today in our society is
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, people think they're helping, but they're not. They're afraid to as well. I get that as well. They don't want to deal with it. But, that's the thing is like our society, people have gotten to the point where they can't trust anybody, you know. It's kind of a sad state,
Mm-hmm.
and
I got
rightfully
a
so.
really oh yeah. I got a really down to earth, honest question for you. And I want you to answer it from both sides of the coin here. You're a lieutenant, and we just asked a question about leadership and what that looks like as far as your faith goes. Now, just because you're a lieutenant, or maybe even you're a captain one day, does that mean you're expected not to break down? And I want to know the answer to this from somebody who looks at you like, Cap, you're not supposed to break down, or someone that goes, you're human too. Well, how are you not breaking down?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're capable, like no matter the rank. I think that's the thing too, is like um, you know, Chappie was talking about a little bit was like ranks and titles and things, and we expect people to be a certain way based off of their ranks and titles and all this. But at the end of the day, like we're all still humans, and we're all
Hmm.
still susceptible to just break down, whether it's like emotionally being sad or out of anger or anything. Like we're just capable of just whatever. You've got you've got people that can make really bad decisions at high ranks. You know, just because they're at a certain rank doesn't mean they're not going to
Hmm.
do something. But for me as a lieutenant, like
So it's
if I
fine to you to act one way as a firefighter, but once you get that rank of a lieutenant or a captain, are you expected to change?
that's what is expected. You know, we expect people based off their rank to be a certain way. Like we do hold a higher expectation based off rank. But I think we forget that people are still sinners. Like they're still susceptible to make bad decisions no matter what. Um,
Hmm.
but we are held to a higher standard. Like we should set the example and as leaders, you know, to be leading people and making the right choices and doing the right things. But I do know that we're all capable of just making horrible decisions on things. Not just at the fire station. I'm talking about like outside of work, you know, on your days off, things that you're doing, you should be
Hmm.
doing. Um, but yeah, it's a tough one. And like we take leadership classes, you know, we'll do core officer classes, and these are kind of the topics that don't get brought up a whole lot. You know,
Hmm.
we talk about the blanket surface level stuff, which is good. We have an awesome, amazing core officer class and good scenarios on different things that may occur on fire scenes, off fire scenes, at the station, dealing with certain things. And these are the kind of subjects that, you know, are good to bring up, I feel like at stations, you know, or amongst the leadership is how we carry ourselves, how we have conversations, how we deal with our emotions, you know, having emotional control with things. Um, Even when somebody makes you mad of how to deal with it, you know. Um, I went through a guy at our church. He was he was working on his degree in Christian counseling, and so he needed some hours to run through for his schooling. And so I met with him, and we were going through a book, and the book was over basically. Um, I'd have to pull up the name of it, but it was a book on how to deal with issues amongst people in churches, outside of churches, within work, and how to deal with it from a biblical point of view. And that book was awesome,
Hmm.
just because it really does help with being able to take something that happens and to learn from it, um, and just to create unity. You know, like um, you see some places they gel really good. Crews get together, they get along well, and then there's some places they don't. And I think having that trait of being able to um, have difficult conversations and having a forgiving attitude, being able to have grace, not talking bad about people. It's hard because, you know, firefighters, they say the fire station's like you know, it's worse than,
Hmm.
you know, high school, teenage classroom in some places. But having that ability to where we're just talking positive all the time, positive talk about each other, about what we're doing, about the job, not letting negativity take a hold of us, and it's contagious. It really is. It's super contagious. Um, but out of all the things, like taking guys too that are younger and new on the job and building them up, sitting down and talking with them, you know, seeing how their day went, what did they learn, what did they like, what are they having problems with, what do they think, you know, instead of just throwing them to the corner and just having
Hmm.
them pour coffee, you know, making them a part of the team, slowly getting them to be a part. Um, you know, it's funny, like we take that term cult, like cult's a bad thing. Well, we are a cult. We're a culture, of guys,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn to become a part of the culture, and you work with each other. But to answer your question, really, yeah, like we're susceptible of saying things we shouldn't. And I really do think, one of the attributes that Jesus had was he didn't, whenever they'd ask him a question or try to stump him up, he'd give them a solid answer back, but he was also very choiceful in his words, or he was very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's scripture that says that too, like a wise man sounds very smart when he doesn't speak that much. He's kind of quiet. But I really do. I feel like the way we speak with each other, the way we talk, the things we talk about, really sets the tone for the whole place, for each other, for the station. The best part of the morning is like showing up, drinking coffee and just talking, joking around, talking, asking the shift about what they did the
Agreed.
day before, what they like, what they didn't like, brainstorming what we would like to do around the station, just it's having good positive talk. Just like when I go to church, how's your week been? Hey, I had this idea about this class at church. Like, what do you think? Like, it's the same thing, but in a spiritual way for the Lord. It applies. It's so applicable.
So I'm gonna let you take over, and I just want you to like look in the camera and just talk to the person that's asking you for help right now. There's a firefighter, an EMT, a police officer, a nurse, a military member, somebody who's listening right now and struggling. What's something you want them to hear?
If there's one thing I would tell you, if you're struggling right now, is if you don't have a mentor or somebody that you can talk to, you need to find one. Whether it's your senior firefighter at the station or your captain or your pastor at church. You need to learn to be able to talk about anything. Your personal stuff that you got going on in life, your business ideas that you may have, whatever it could be, like in your life, like have somebody that you can talk to. And don't be afraid, just be open with them, And I think when you do that, they'll be open with you too. And you start to find some things out about people that you may not even have ever found out about them unless you did. I think this would probably be one of the best pieces of advice I can give is in scripture. It says that, I want to say in Matthew 5, talks about blessed are the merciful, for they will find mercy. It also says in scripture that, we're to forgive, for Christ forgave us. So having that ability to forgive others, forgiveness, it goes a long way. Like we make mistakes all the time. And in your career, there may be something that comes up, smaller department, wherever you may be, something comes up, somebody does something dumb, but having the ability to forgive and know that you're capable of making that same mistake and learn from it goes a long way. And studying. I'm guilty of it, but like continuing to study, whether it be the Word of God, because it applies to so many aspects of our lives as firefighters, as husbands, as parents, and focusing on your family. Like your family comes first before everything. Everything else falls into place, but you focus on your family first. But with studying the job, studying your skills with training and all those things, and studying God's word, and not being afraid to have those discussions with other guys you work with. I think a lot of guys are afraid to talk because they're afraid of like offending somebody, or they're afraid of being seen as weird or whatever. I'm guilty of that. It's hard sometimes to pull it out of me. But when I start getting into it, I get excited. especially when you find somebody that is like-minded that you work with. And so we've even had Bible studies at the station. We started having, and we haven't had it in a while, but we were doing the Holy Smokes. We'd go downstairs in the bay and we'd read the Bible and smoke some cigars to the point where somebody made a shirt
Mm-hmm.
that was like the Holy Smokes group, you know, and it builds camaraderie.
It's pretty good.
You build some camaraderie and down in the bay, back of the bay, you know, tailboard, whatever, sitting down, having those.
Basically, it's just a manly way to say you're in book club.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like the days of the days of the Playboys and not training are over. Like you hear the stories of firefighters, which I love. They were hard firefighters back in the day, Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans and all that, but they're still sinners too. And you hear the stories from back in the day where all they did was sit down, eat, you know, read Playboys and whatever else. Yeah, that's cool and all, but what's more important? Like, this life is so short. Our time, and you hear guys that are about to retire. Like, I asked this one dude, you know, he's about to retire. I was like, man, how did it feel? Like, how did that 20 years ago? He was like, I feel like it was yesterday. I remember when my daughter was just like a baby, and just thinking how fast time goes by. Like, I don't want to have those regrets of wasting the days on the job. And but yeah, if there's anything I could give advice is not be afraid of your faith. Share it to those that need it, share to those that don't need it, share to those that want it. If they reject it, kick off the dust from your feet. That's scriptural. That's Bible.
Keep going.
But you know, Jesus loves you. Jesus wants the best for you. Have a servant's heart. Be like Jesus. He washed the feet. You know, we're not too good to go help the man down. You know, we get up in the middle of the night.
Amen to that.
We get paid to do that. That's our job. And we never know, that person it may be a true call where we change their life, the outcome of their life. And so you never know. But stay safe.
Amen. Well, Burl, before we wrap things up, is there anything that we didn't cover?
Trying to think. Not that I can think of. I would, the one thing,
Okay.
the one thing I would
I'd love to have you back on as a guest again, and we could talk about multiple other things.
Yeah, we could talk about whatever in the future.
Register for the Tulsa 5K. It's going to be in the description below. The link down there is going to be there. Follow the event on Facebook and go look at what these guys do. Help support them and what they're doing. Let's see, Burl. I always give my guests the last word. Whatever's on your heart, whether it's about to raise faith or fire service, just life in general, the floor is yours. You can talk about anything you need to, and if not, we'll go ahead and sign off. And I do want to ask one thing, if you don't mind. I would love it if you would pray us out before we ended the show.
Yeah, I'd love to. And if there's anything I'd like to add is just, if you haven't been to church in a long time, it's never too late. If you've never believed,
Amen.
It's time is short, but it can happen in an instant. And God loves you. He died for you on the cross, and he rose again on the third day. And we're here to serve others. This is a calling, whether you're police, fire, EMT, whatever. And we couldn't do it without each other, without faith. So I'll go into prayer if you don't mind. So, Lord, I thank you so much for this this time to spend with Isaac, and I thank you so much for this podcast to be able to speak about the things that you've done through us, through your word, and through our service to those that are around us, Lord, in our communities, God. I pray that you would give us safety and strength, and that you would guide us in all the actions that we would make, Lord, to help others in our towns. And I pray for those that are in trouble, Lord, that are seeking some kind of faith, Lord, and that may be hurting, Lord, spiritually or emotionally, God, that you would comfort them like you said you would, Lord. You would send the comforter, God, and I pray that you would heal them and whatever struggles that they've gone through in their life or any kind of call that they may have seen that they've battled with, Lord, that you'd be there for them, Lord, and that they'd be able to find another person out there, Lord, that they could speak to as well, God. I thank you so much for all you do. We ask this in your son's precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Well, Burl, thank you again for taking the time to come on Tales from the Tailboard podcast. I do appreciate the conversation. I appreciate what you're doing for both the fire service and the community. And thank you to everyone listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you follow the podcast, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who could benefit from it. This will be on TikTok and Shorts, YouTube in full, and also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and, well, a whole list of others. I want you guys to remember that my name's Isaac. My guest here has been Burl. This is Tales from the Tailboard podcast. The world's dangerous. Be safe. And if you're not, we'll see you soon.